I agree with you. The Ethan Therian pairing is a huge missed opportunity on Sarah's part. Come on, Sarah, you're telling me that instead of a mutually interesting and compelling gay couple, you literally force a wife on one, and then you have the other one like constantly looking for women to follow when they can just when they can when their issues clearly fit with each other and would make for a really interesting gay romance. Like, come on, Sarah. And I feel like this is the same missed opportunity that we got with Tamlin and Rhysand. I know Tamlin and Rhysand are set up to be Feyre's love interests, so saying that this is a missed gay opportunity really isn't fair, but the fact that these two, they foil each other so well, it actually would have made for a very interesting, oh, Feyre, I should tell you that I used to date Tamlin too, or, ooh, you know that guy who just showed up and trapped your mind and scared the shit out of you? He's my ex-boyfriend. Like, come on, Sarah. So I thought it would be like an interesting thing to talk about the different like gay pairings that we could have had in the Sarah J. Maas universe that wouldn't have actually done anything to change the storyline all too much. It just would have been, instead of a straight romance here, it's a gay one. So let's see how I do here. First, I got to address Rhysand and Tamlin. I know I've already touched on it, but the fact that these two were not exes is really weird to me, just because of like the way that they speak about each other, and the fact that Tamlin was involved in like Rhysand's early life in the same way that Cassian and Azriel was, and the vibes with Rhysand and Tamlin are just so different from Cassian and Azriel. Like, I don't see Rhysand getting with Cassian and Azriel like carnally, but I do see him looking at Tamlin in the same way that he looks at Feyre now. And it kind of shows like how the three of them see the other party in the person that they're with. As for Cassian and Azriel, I think that the Morgan love triangle with these two would have been a lot more interesting had all of them been involved like with each other. Like, I remember specifically in Akasif, like, during that whole, like, little bit of narration where he's talking about Morgan and how, like, he sees her as, like, this beautiful piece of art in a museum and, like, he still loves her and all that, which, another conversation for another day. But at the time, he says something like Azriel is in love with Morgan at this point, like, as per Cassian's, what he's witnessed, like, putting any theories aside. Like, as far as Cassian knows, Azriel's in love with Morgan. And he says something like, Azriel isn't just his anymore, or his and Rhysand's anymore, but mostly his. And I feel like that could have been super interesting for Cassian to have actually had a thing for Azriel, and like it just didn't really go anywhere. And it would make sense considering that he's mated to Nesta, and Nesta and Azriel have this deep, deep friendship and this deep, deep connection. And speaking of Nesta, missed opportunity here. Because this could have started out like Morgan feeling protective over Cassian because Nesta is like such a mess. And then Nesta's feeling a type of way because Morgan just keeps coming for her and she doesn't know why. And this could have morphed into something like, I thought that you were like jealous of my connection with Cassian. It turns out that you're jealous of Cassian's connection with me. And then we would have had a different storyline for Nesta because instead of Cassian learning how to become a courtier and learning like the art of like court relations and like politicking and things like that, Morgan already knows that. So these two would have just been like rinsing through all of those like those Eris interactions, those Tamlin interactions together, and that could have been really cool. That is, of course, barring the opportunity for Morgan and Emery to get together, but this actually has a chance of happening in the canon, so I'm gonna skip over this for now. I do ship this though. Taking a little break to go to Crescent City, I will say again, this was a huge missed opportunity. These two foil each other so well. And then for the first half of House of Flame and Shadow, Ethan's entire motivation involves Therian. And literally, they have to send him on a side quest in order for him to get away from Therian. Like, this could have been so cool, man. But to bring in a bigger point, these two could have been the moment. Like, I'm aware that Danika is dead now and that Bryce and Hunt are mated and that is a really cool story. But at the same time, though, like, let's be real, like, bisexual people exist. Bryce could have very easily had a romance with Danika. And I actually think that Danika got a male mate in House of Sky and Breath, specifically to make the theories about these two having been together go away a little bit. That doesn't actually stop me from theorizing about it, but I like Bactian well enough though, so I'm okay with this not happening. As for Throne of Glass, there are gay mates in that story, but there is also like not the cauldron in that story. So even though we have gay mates in Throne of Glass, it does not necessarily mean that the cauldron in ACOTAR is not homophobic. But that's another conversation for another day that we've had a lot lately. But when it comes to Throne of Glass, shipping, and gay opportunities left on the table, these guys. Come on, Sarah. I will say I like the romances that we have for them, like the girl romances. Like they ended up with the best girls in Throne of Glass, like respectively. The Frodo Sam vibes here are palpable. They are tangible. Like if you're somebody who ships Frodo Sam, you're probably going to ship these two. It doesn't matter that they end up with the best girls in the series respectively. You're going to ship them if you have an eye for that kind of thing. As for Elain, I'm having a hard time like pairing her with somebody like sapphically, just because I see her matching so well in the narrative with Azriel and like the chemistry with Azriel. Like that's really hard. I actually think Elain isn't gay. Like I don't think she would date a woman, but I do think she is, that in this scenario she would be poly and she would have Azriel and Lucian wrapped around her fingers. Like this would be like the wide shoes scenario. Like, and who wouldn't? Anyway, I hope you liked this very random picking out of certain gay couples that could have really worked in the story without changing all that much. And Sarah, let us have some gay representation, please?